I can tell you this much. We use Teams every day. I've got a team of architects that are either building solutions or designing solutions for most of our customers. And we jump on a Teams call every morning to have a stand-up to say where we are, what the blockers were, what our successes were, and do they need help from me to get over some hurdles that they're experiencing through a blocker. And it's vitally important to us to work with teams because I get to stay in contact with my team. I mean, Microsoft Teams is the hub for teamwork, and we get to chat every day. I get to check in with them, making sure that they're okay, reaching out to them if they need anything from me, and jumping on a call if they need some advice or some help with the problem that they're having. So let's have a look at what the meeting experience actually looks like inside of Teams. Now, there's a few ways, and Microsoft has been calling it intelligent communication for a while now. We've also heard of unified comms, and for those coming from an old Skype background, we used to call it UCS, Unified Communication Server. And Microsoft has gone full circle working with Teams. Also know that Teams is not based on Skype. Teams actually is complete new infrastructure, so it's not been rolled out to the old Skype infrastructure. And well, I think that's a good thing because a lot of people have been complaining about Skype for the longest time. And Skype Online, or Skype for Business Online, is actually being retired this year. Microsoft has said that if their customers are still using Skype for Business server, Microsoft will still invest in the product. It's 2020. The last product releases for on-prem was 2019. So we see Skype for Business Server 2019, Exchange 2019, SharePoint 2019, and I forget and obviously Office 2019 for organizations that still work with on-prem. So I don't know if they are going to release another version of Skype or in fact another version of SharePoint on-prem, Exchange, or Office 2019. I mean, right now, everyone's downloading Office Pro Plus as part of the Office 365 subscription, if you qualify for that plan. So Microsoft's really split their meeting experience into a few ways of doing this. One, we talk about standard meetings. We can also do live events for Town Hall. There are calling plans where you can dial into a meeting like you used to be able to do with Skype, and then also the devices that provide a richer meeting and meeting room experience. There are 4 different types of meetings inside of the organization. I mean, we all used to scheduling a Zoom meeting, possibly. I don't know if anyone's been using Zoom or Citrix, WebEx, a GoToMeeting, and also you have the same rich experience when it comes to scheduling a Teams meeting. It's available to you in Outlook. You can select, I want to schedule a Teams meeting, and it will allow you, it will actually put the join the Teams meeting link inside of Teams. And what's nice about that is you're not only limited to people who have Teams rolled out inside of the organization, especially when you're working with external parties. They can say join and they'll be able to use Teams in the web. They don't have to download the client. What's quite cool is you have a way of recording these meetings as well, which we haven't really touched on, but being able to record a meeting so that you can reference it later is available to you out of the box. There's also ad hoc meetings, and we're actually starting to use these ad hoc meetings inside of Teams because we want to provide the organization with a water cooler, or as me, I'm an ex-smoker, so I still vape with people at the organization. We've got quite a big vaping fraternity. But instead of, because we can't go congregate outside at the smoking area and having a cigarette currently, we can now click and say meet now, and people can join that meeting and we can conversate and have a virtual sort of smoke session. I know that's in bad taste, but people congregate that way, right? So you can now have one-on-one meetings, or you can have one-to-many meetings just by clicking the meet now button in the channel that you're in, and people can join it ad hocly. There are channel meetings. You can then also, when you schedule a meeting, you can say what channel that's available in. And for people that are working inside of the organization, that way you can actually do it using that functionality. The last type of meeting you can have is a live event. And I don't think we really use town halls as a meeting platform in South Africa currently. But in the US, there's a lot of town hall meetings, and you can have up to, I think it's 10,000 people dialing into a live event for town hall meetings. It doesn't require a plug-in for Teams or anything like that. You can literally join the conversation, and it's quite neat. And also what's nice about that, there's a moderated Q&A manager. Pretty much the same way that we're doing this webinar, you'll be able to use live events for that functionality. There was something that I wanted to talk about specifically around these live events. The other thing to note, when you actually have meetings inside of Teams, you're limited to 250 participants per meeting, and that's why something like a live event, if you've got more than 250 people, you would then schedule a live event instead of using a standard Teams meeting because you've got so many people joining the meeting. There's a lot of conversation around on the interwebs currently and the Twitterati's around, but Zoom gives you 30 different images of people talking at the same time. I mean, that's very, very confusing. I don't know if I'd be able to keep up with that. The view that you have in Teams is the one that I showed earlier on, where there's 4 people participating from a video perspective, and whoever speaks after that, they would then slide into that view. So it's really around focusing on the current conversation, not having 12 or 30 windows inside of your view, because you're just going to get confused. So when someone speaks, that person would pop up to the top, and whoever spoke before that would move to the right, and so forth, so on. And that's really how the Teams meeting experience outside of live events is available to you when you start looking at meetings inside of Microsoft Teams. And why is meetings important inside of Microsoft Teams? Because it's a new approach to the way we used to work, or the way we currently work. So think about it, right? You go and you walk into a meeting, and typically what happens is you go in and you've got someone to scribe and make notes. And during that meeting, you're making sure that everyone is heard, and generally what happens is someone speaks and it stops there. And then after that, being able to track what's going on. In today's world, you've got such a rich experience when it comes to working inside of Teams. You get to schedule the meeting. You get to make sure that people can start sharing content before they move into the meeting. You might be talking about the latest ad campaign for a retailer, and you'll be able to share that information inside that same Teams meeting around that. During the meeting, you can actually start co-authoring documents that you want to update, because you're generally talking about changing something, and you can actually do that while that is happening. What's also nice about it is you can follow along using stuff like closed captioning, and Microsoft likes to talk about. It's actually funny. I've done a few presentations using closed captioning, and South Africans have got such a flat tone and a flat dialect that it's interesting to watch what it actually brings up in the closed captioning. It usually happens on the top of the meeting when you actually talk through that. And also after that, you can review, like I said earlier on. What's going to happen is you can hit the record button, and you can actually go through what people were saying in real time, and you can notate that. What's also nice is in a Teams meeting, you can use products like whiteboard, so you can annotate and you can draw, and everyone can participate in that with drawing. You've got great inking tools available to you, and what's nice about that is the meeting actually creates a chat window, so people can still talk in the context of the meeting as if they were living inside of a team. And I think that's really great, because you want to contextualize the conversation. We use Teams for our user groups, and why we do that, because once a month we get together and we have a bunch of people talking about tech, right? And for that hour or two, people's excited about it, and they might have questions, all of those things. But the minute they walk out the door, that information's gone. They are no longer conversating. How do they get back to asking a question should they think of something the next day? And Teams provides us with that mechanism to have conversations not only during the meeting, but also conversate and collaborate about that meeting topic. And I think that's invaluable in today's world, where we want to keep that conversation going. And I like to call it chat-based information management, because it's really about not only ideating, but also carrying that conversation and that meeting life cycle from beginning all the way to the end. Some innovations that are coming, you can read the slide. I'm not going to go too much through the slide, but what's available to you today, where it's going, and what is actually coming to you soon. And it's at the rate that Microsoft releases features, it's difficult for me to keep up as someone that spends a lot of time in this world. So why Teams? Why Teams meetings? Live captioning is what I spoke about earlier on. You can transform not only the way people work with a laptop or with a mobile phone, but you can also have a rich meeting room experience. There's audio conferencing, so people can actually dial in via PSTN, like you had with Skype, where if you don't have an application or you don't have a feature, smartphone, you can actually now dial in with a dial-in number. Being able to share that files that you are working with, no longer is someone making notes or typing up something on a document that they're now emailing you. They can actually create that file experience inside of Teams, and they can share it with everyone that's been part of that meeting easily, as easy as uploading a document to that meeting conversation. And also being able to utilize the enterprise-grade security that comes with Microsoft Teams and also Microsoft 365, that entire ecosystem. And part of that conversation is really around how we provide a rich, full fidelity experience to people sitting inside of the meeting as if they were living in other products inside of your Office 365 stack. You must remember that Teams provides that full fidelity experience to users. So you tap into all of the other Office 365 products inside of Microsoft Teams. Features that are shipping, and funnily enough, I had a friend of mine ask me 2 days ago, well actually, was it 2 days? It might have been today. I don't even know what day it is. I think it's day 5 of lockdown. It's like that period between Christmas and New Year where nobody knows what day it is. We just know that there's a lot of food in the fridge. But he actually asked about background blur, and everyone's worried about background blur. Background blur is available. It's where you can blur your background. You can see my background. I'm actually using a 24mm Canon lens to record this, and it's, if it makes any sense to the camera people on it, it's using an f-stop of 2.8, so you get a little bit of bokeh in the background, and that's what you're seeing currently. It's a bit fuzzy. With background blur, you can actually blur your entire background, and people are now wanting custom backgrounds. That is coming. If it's not available to you currently, it's probably releasing in the next month or so. If you don't want to wait, go have a look at, just Google Snapchat camera for Microsoft Teams. You can actually use Snapchat's camera features with the little horns and weird little pictures. You can actually use that with Microsoft Teams. You can actually use it with any product that's going to connect to your webcam. Multi-window, we said, is coming, and we've got everything else that comes with it, like live captions, and live captions is available today. I think you just need to enable it to tenant.